One of the reasons I feel that AI continues to be intimidating and usually confusing space to follow is because there are many of these extreme perspectives, many of these personalities, and I think it's worth getting into and breaking them down a little bit in order to make sense of all of this. So, hi, I'm Doc Ligot, and today we're going to discuss doom versus hype, or making sense of the current AI discourse. I first saw this diagram on X, I think, a couple of weeks back, and I don't remember anymore who first coined it. But I found it a very interesting way of breaking down all of these occasionally agreeing but usually disagreeing voices in the AI space. At the end of the day, if we look closely, this diagram attempts to break down the current discourse in terms of two questions. First, should AI be sped up or accelerated or slowed down or decelerated? And also, is the current or near-term capability of AI actually powerful, or is it sorely limited? And this is where you see all four possible combinations. You have people who want to accelerate and think AGI is imminent. At the same time, people who want to decelerate, but also think AI is not even close. And we should actually be more mindful of the limits of current AI. So let's go through each quadrant first, and then attempt to break down exactly what they are saying. So first, let's go for the doomer camp. These are strong believers that very powerful AI or AGI is likely and in the near term and could be catastrophically dangerous. So development should slow down or even stop. So these are those who want to decelerate and are worried about advanced AI. So you have people like Eliezer Yudkowsky. I think he's the banner personality behind the AI alignment discussion. Max Tegmark, who famously, initiated the 6 month pause a couple of years ago. AI godfather Jeffrey Hinton, who even said he was regretful, despite winning the Nobel Prize, of even setting this path up in the first place because he thinks AI will lead to the extinction of the human race. Ilya Sutskever, who used to be the chief scientist of OpenAI, and then since has since departed and started his own SSI, Safe Superintelligence Initiative, company or startup. And you have, journalists like Zvi Moshowitz and Ezra Klein, who are likening AI to nuclear weapons. Okay. Some of the core ideas in this camp include advancing AI poses existential risk and could cause human extinction. Safety in research and strict regulation or a total moratorium should come first before further capability gains. Typical views are let's pause AI development, let's ban it, or heavily license it. We need international controls on frontier systems, and we need large safety margins or tools. And occasionally they've advocated for centralized oversight of advanced models. Okay, next in line, we have the ethicists and critics. So these are people who also want to slow down AI, but at the same time, they're not actually quite impressed with the capabilities of AI now and in the near term. So these voices focus less on the far future extinction and more on the current social harms and power imbalances from AI. So you have the likes of Timnit Gebru, who was famously ousted from Google for voicing her views about AI. Emily Bender, who coined the term stochastic parrots. Gary Marcus, I guess one of the most famous doomers, has been very critical about how bad large language models are. And you have, journalists like Kevin Roos and Rodney Brooks, who are, you can follow them if you want a lot of news about how bad AI is performing. So some of the core ideas here Today's systems already have a lot of problems like bias, misinformation, labor exploitation, surveillance, the climate impact, and speculative AI, AGI risk is a distraction. Let's not worry about sci-fi problems. Let's focus on today's problems, and can distract from fixing present injustices from and holding big tech accountable. Some of the usual views are we need labor protection, data protection, civil rights protections, transparency and accountability for AI deployments. We need to slow down or constrain, especially applications that are heavily abusive, like policing, hiring, surveillance, until they meet ethical and legal standards. Okay, now let's move on to the kind of the acceleration camp. So the pragmatic group want to encourage further development, but they also acknowledge that AI is still limited. So this cluster includes practitioners and journalists who take a more practical stance, emphasizing usefulness, evidence, and incremental improvement. So Casey Newton is a reporter in this space. Of course, you have Lian LeCun, who used to be the chief AI scientist in Meta, and then he has just departed as of this discussion to start his own startup. Mark Zuckerberg, of course, who moved from investing in metaverse into now going all in on AI, is the open source, leading the open source movement. Andrew Ng, of course, leads the upskilling through Coursera, and Francois Chollet. So some of the core ideas in this space, let's treat AI primarily as a powerful tool for economics, education, and engineering rather than as a god or a demon. Uh, let's highlight both the opportunities and the risks, but let's resist extreme optimism or pessimism without strong evidence. Typical policy views can be balanced regulation. In other words, let's encourage innovation, require safeguards and update rules as impacts become clearer. And let's emphasize rigorous evaluation, public understanding, and adaptive governance instead of fixed ideologies. Okay. Finally, the builders and the futurists. No? So these are highly optimistic accelerationists who are actually saying AGI is imminent. They expect very powerful AI and they want to push capabilities forward to realize its benefits. Dario Amodei of Anthropic obviously is here. Demis Hassabis of DeepMind. So these are kind of the pops, the rock stars of AI. Dwarkesh Patel, the vloggers, Lex Friedman, Sam Altman, of course, Ray Kurzweil, who wants to merge with machines, Mark Andreessen, the venture capitalist, Guillaume Verdon. So what are the core ideas here? Rapid progress in AI can cure disease, boost science, grow the economy, and solve major global challenges. So in a nutshell, we need AGI so we can solve problems that humans can't solve on their own. AGI or superintelligence is plausible and desirable if aligned, and racing ahead responsibly is necessary to avoid being outcompeted by others, aka China. So typical views here: aggressive R&D, large-scale deployment, but with built-in safety and testing. They are the first to worry that excessive regulation, fear, or precaution will freeze innovation. So they're worried that if we spook ourselves too much, we won't get to where we want to go. And existing incumbents get entrenched, or hostile actors, aka China again, will lead instead of them. So there you have it, the four perspectives. And again, I'm sure as you were listening, you probably found yourselves agreeing and disagreeing to some parts of these four philosophies. So in other words, they're not all right, but I don't think they're all wrong either. So I think that begs the question: is there a way of staying safely in the middle? Is there a centrist view? And I think it's not so much about being in the middle, but maybe picking and choosing the right parts of each philosophy. Or when I say right, I mean the practical parts that actually makes the most sense, and avoiding kind of the science fiction stuff.